Release the Kraken!
Good evening, fellow game designers. Ron here with Lame Duck Studios. In our previous tutorial, we went ahead and created the fire for our ship. Of course, wherever there's fire, we need to have smoke. So let's add in some smoke. So go back to our particle system. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to duplicate this. So right-click on the particle emitter. Let's go ahead and rename the emitter. I'm going to call this fire. And then this one, let's go ahead and right-click on it again, emitter, duplicate emitter. And I'll rename the new one smoke. Emitter, rename, we'll call that smoke. Okay, so all the usual suspects. The difference is our smoke is going to be gray. So let's go ahead and grab the color over life. And our smoke will be a more grayish color. Start off there. Let's come down, add in another gray here-ish. So a few different varieties of gray. Maybe some lighter and some darker. And I'm just going to gradually get darker on the gray. You don't really need too many of these here. You could just probably stop at around 2. I'm going to get a nice dark gray. Alright. And then for the smoke, I'm also going to have the smoke live a little bit longer. So I'm going to come up to lifetime. So lifetime here. And instead of it being alive for 1 second and then dying at 1 second, so it could be, its minimum is 1 second, right? But its maximum is also 1 second. So there's no variation in how long it could be alive for. If I come down and I'll just add maybe its max, maybe do 3 seconds, I'll get more of a smoke trail. Well, that's kind of cool. Now smoke does get a lot bigger, so I'm going to come into my size by life. The initial size is good. That's probably fine. Let's add in another array element here. So this one, let's see, 0.2 is at 1, 0.1 is at half. Let's make this like 0.8, and then its ending one, its last one, I'll do that at 1, and this will be 1.5. I'll make this I'll make this go to like a 2, a solid 2. So this will be twice the size of the flame. I think it's living just a little too long. So lifetime, we'll take that down to maybe 2 seconds. That way we don't have random little balls like floating around. Now if we look at this in game, if actually you can just look at right here, we have the smoke happening at the same time the fire happens, but that's not exactly how it works. The fire kind of does its thing where it kind of burns through the atmosphere, and then what's left over is kind of like the smoke. So we're going to let the smoke sort of fade into existence a little further down the line. So coming into my color over life, let's go ahead and close the color tab. So color. I'm going to come down to alpha over life. Now alpha controls its visibility. So let's go down, open up its points. So when this thing first starts, so at 0.0, I don't want my smoke to be visible at all. So I'm going to have that be not visible. So in value is 0, out value is 0. At 0.1, I'm going to have it maybe right around 0.3 or 0.2. This starts to fade in, so maybe 0.3-ish. That's too visible. We'll make that like that. You can see it's starting to fade in. I'm going to add another point, and then this last point, let's do its lifetime at 1. Actually, what we got? We have 0.4. And then what you're seeing down here, this popping, that is caused by it actually just despawning. We really want it to fade out. So instead of it being 1 at half visibility, let's add another point here. And we're going to add, we'll do this at 1, it'll be at 0. And then for this one, we'll change, what do we got? 0.4. I'll make this 0.6-ish. Sorry, jump around some points. So I'll open up 0. So 0 is 0, 0. My 0.1 is, I did 0.4 and 0.1. Again, you can change these if you like. For my 0.2, I'm at 0.6 on my N and 0.5 on my visibility, or opacity, I should say. And then we have my N value of 1 is going to fade out to 0. All right, that should be good enough. Let's take a look in game. It's not perfect. Oh, geez. All right, so it's not a perfect flame, but you can definitely see that it's much cooler than having nothing on the tail. Now I'm going to let you guys go ahead and adjust that as you like, but I do want to add one additional feature, which is to turn this thing on and off whenever you push the button. So I'm going to go ahead and hit escape here. Let's go into our player. Go to our event graph here. I'm going to make a new spot. I'm just going to come over here, and I'm going to need to add a key. So let's go up to Edit, Project Settings. And I'll go down to Input. And then inside of my action map, I'm going to add an action. And we do have an axis map called thrust. So I'm going to make an action map. You can call this, thrust or thrust on or particle on, whatever you want to call it so it makes sense. I'll just call it thrust because it is my thrust component. And I do realize that I have two that are named the same, but you can see that this is the axis and that's the action. And Unreal will actually tell you the difference. So I'm going to do a space bar. Okay. Generally in programming you wouldn't name two things the same, but you'll see when I look for it. So if I type in thrust, I have two, but one is an action and one is an axis. So if I grab the action, here's the action, and then there's my thrust axis value. So I bring them over, you can see they're not the same thing, but they do have a similar name. This one's going to come over here. And then I'm going to drag in my particle system. I'm just grabbing that from here. From my thrust, I'm going to do activate. So come down to activation and activate. Plug that into pressed. And then to turn it off, I'm just going to go and do a deactivate. Put that into your released. Let's wrap this in a bubble. So press the C key. We'll call this toggle thrust particle. And then let's select our thrust one more time. Come over to the right, scroll down to activation. So it's kind of near the bottom. So activate. Right now it's set to auto. Let's go ahead and uncheck that. And this will make sure that it is not awake on spawn. So we're going to go ahead and close that. So it's off. And if I hit the button, it's on. Poof. And if it's alive long enough, you can see it turns to smoke. Okay, so from here, I'm going to let you guys tweak your particle and make it look the way you like. Also, if you like what you're seeing, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. If you'd like to suggest contents for future videos or have access to merch or early access to other videos, go ahead and check me out on Patreon /LameDuckStudios. And as always, I will see you in the next video.